She worked your magic last night and I was like, no, we're doing it has to be like Alicia. What's the best, like, how do you want it? We'll do a YouTube on that browser. Like right now, you want to trust it. Okay. Jesus to real.
Are there going to be more people?
But it's like a there might be, well, because right now it's gonna record on soon, so it's still something to watch into. Wait.
Mommy, can I have water?
Yeah, me too.
My report.
Yeah, wow, you have a lot.
Look at this. You're gonna do board trustee thing?
Oh, it looks like someone up here shopping.
What?
On flag salute, Judy.
What does that mean?
Like you lead the Pledge of
Oh,
Allegiance.
that's it. You start?
Yeah, you start it. I don't really,
I don't
I don't know why.
All right, so we're going to get started. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad to see you. Can we get a roll call?
We ready? Malinali Lopez,
Here.
Stephanie Amott,
Here.
Paul Cagorno,
Present.
Rich Carnation,
Here.
Bill Adams,
Here.
Kylie Hernandez, here, Zoe Furmankevich.
Here. Okay, thank you. And now we will have the flag salute led by Paul Cagorno.
We begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Are there any reports out of closed session?
There is nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
There is. We are going to table item 4.2 in consent. Beyond that, I don't believe there are any other adjustments.
Okay, thank you. So first up, we have Celebrating Success, Angela West.
Well, good evening, you guys. Nice to see you. Yeah, we are celebrating Windsor Middle School tonight, but Rich, first note that Sarah did wear her Windsor. Did you know? Okay, we just wanted to make sure you saw that because you gave her a little static the other night. So, okay. So we are celebrating Windsor Middle School tonight, and I thought you guys might like to hear from the kids rather than me standing up here talking. So come on up. We've got some of our leadership crew. Here they are, and I am gonna, let them introduce themselves.
Thank you for being here.
Hi, my name is Kyrie, and I'm one of the Windsor Middle School sportcasters.
Hi, my name is Robbie Hollingsworth, and I'm one of the WMS sports newscasters.
Hi, my name is Sydney, and I'm a commissioner at Windsor Middle.
Hi, my name's Addie, and I'm ASB president.
Okay, do you want me to go? All right, this is my cue. So when we were talking about our presentation, we decided that we would put together a video. And when I say we, I mean Miss Lozano. And so we put together a video to show you our successes. Our teachers expressed their excitement to come back, and they did a dance to September by Earth, Wind, and Fire. I don't know if you saw that on social media. That was awesome, but we wanted to give you a bigger scope of our successes over at this school. So we're hoping the sound works. You guys are up here. So you're going to talk.
Serve up your signature style for us.
Do you have any questions for us?
I guess my only question is it possible for us board members to try out that car in the video?
Yeah, that just got delivered last week. So if you take engineering 2, you get to, we took delivery of the car intact. And then after the parade, we're going to drive in the parade. We're going to disassemble the whole thing and get it powder coated. So we got to go black and gold. And then they're going to build it all from parts up, and then they're going to be able to drive it. So yeah, that's what they're working on this year in engineering too.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions from the board?
Not a question, but a comment. I love that video. It made me want to go and be in those classrooms. I mean, we see a lot of videos and presentations on different sites, and most of the time it's all the extracurricular activities and whatnot, which are important, but I liked the amount of time you spent going around to the classrooms and seeing what's actually going on in the classrooms. I thought it was awesome. Good job.
Well, that's what we're most proud of. We have an awesome staff, and we're really committed to meeting all students where they're at, and we're really excited at Windsor Middle. So thank you.
I think it really shows.
Thank you.
And then if there are no other comments, we also have a special request that we'd like to take our photo with you, if that's okay.
Come on.
Go ahead, guys.
This one.
On Heather, tell them to smile.
Thanks, guys. Good job.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we are moving on to item 3.3. Are there any public comments on non-agenda items? Oh, please come up.
Something that I can bring up that isn't on any agenda that I'm aware of.
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Edna Brooks Hanza, and get closer. My name's Edna Brooks Hanza, and it's been probably a year and a half or so. Jenny helped me. I gave her a letter, and she emailed it to you board members about, where's the bell? And I don't know, Mr. Carnation, if you got the short stick or what, but you took the gauntlet and ran with it. And I think the next day after the board meeting, he's at my door assuring me that the bell is safe. But where is it? And probably 3 months later, I came just to prove that there is a board and I'm alive. And again, he showed a picture. The bell was safe. And so I think it's been a year or more, I'd keep in touch. We finally became first name. It's Rich and Edna. And I would get pictures that it's being approved. Thank you, Mr. Carnation, Rich, and everything. You kept it up. I know it's safe. Here's where we come to a difference. I and a whole bunch of people, friends, said, oh, where's the bell? We feel it should be at the high school. Rich feels it should be at the district office. I worked for the school district for 39 years. I was school secretary here in Windsor. And I visited many different sites at the district office. I think where you are now, you've been here probably the longest that I know of. But again, I just feel it should be at the high school. But thank you for listening, and thank you again, Rich, Mr. Carnation. And I have met Bill. He was very instrumental in getting the closing of the Windsor Creek. And I was criticized at one point when I was kind of involved with it. Why are you having a party at the closing? It was a wonderful closing. People, teachers that had worked there and friends and students came back. And thank you again.
Thank you, Edna.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just, hey, Edna, just want to give you an update. It got painted yesterday too.
Okay. I got criticized by somebody when I said you were working on it and asking for advice. Oh, it shouldn't be that color. You're damned if you do and damned if you don't. Anyway.
That is the truth.
Going through binders, I came across an article in 1989, a Times article about the school, about superintendents coming and going. It's deja vu all over again. It's town things, it's school things, choosing sites, and it just isn't happening. It isn't changing.
Edna, do you mind sharing with the group since you're here? We talked, you're trying to set a record here in Windsor. Can you talk about that for a second?
Well, what am I going old?
Yes.
I'm going for the oldest living person, born and raised in Windsor and lives on the same property. I'm not the oldest, even though I am old, but Mike Lowndes, that lives here in Windsor, is 106. I'm not that old yet, but I haven't moved, and it sounds so boring. And I love to travel. My husband and I were able to do that, even on a secretary salary. But it's working here. Every principal I had, I really loved. Superintendents.
Oh, Lord.
I didn't have to work closely with them. They were in a whole bunch of different offices, so anyway, I did bring something to be copied, but I want it back. So should I give it to you, Jenny?
Thank you.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.
It's
Okay, up next, we have report from student board members.
longer than the whole story. Yeah. Oh, anyway, read it and make your copies and either mail it back to me or.
You have a presentation that you pulled up? Yeah. Oh, I see.
Thank you, Edna.
All right, my name is Kylie Hernandez. And I'm Zoe Fmankevich. And this is our student trustee presentation for this meeting. Okay, so we have Maddie Washburn Elementary School. So the recent events that happened was obviously Labor Day. They got the school off. They got the school day off, and same with Professional Developmental Day. And then they had a few educational assemblies and special visitors. So you can see those in the pictures. It looks like they had some fun activities for the educational assemblies, and they had some like pets to pet. Yeah, and then they don't have any upcoming events so far. For Brooks Elementary, they also had Labor Day and Professional Development Day, and they had a PTA meeting not too long ago. And then upcoming events is the School Picture Day, Windsor Day Parade, School Custodian Appreciation Day, and Walk and Roll to School. And then for Cali, some recent events were the food and diaper distribution, which will be happening every Wednesday. Back to school night for first and fifth grade, which was the 5th. Walk and roll to school on the 11th. Back to school night for TK, kindergarten, and 6th through 8th on the 12th. And a governing council source meeting on the 17th. Some upcoming events include the PTA Association meeting on the 23rd and a Day of the Dead carnival. Instead of doing the move-a-thon, Cali will now be doing more sort of frequent events. The carnival will include games, food, altars, and their annual t-shirt decorating contest. Oh, and then we were lucky enough to meet with the principal of Windsor Middle School.
Yeah, it was nice. She showed us around campus and we had lunch with her and she told us about all the new classes that they're implementing. It's really cool to see the community that they're building over at Windsor Middle. And then the recent events was the Coffee with the Principal, Windsor Middle Leadership, and then the upcoming events is Spirit Week, Back to School Dance, and Windsor Day Parade. And then you can see on the bottom right-hand corner is a picture of us with the leadership team. So we got to meet with them, and it was really fun. For Big Picture Learning, we also met with the Big Picture Learning principal. It's a really small program, but it's really insightful. So they have LTIs, which is essentially internships. So they don't have a ton of on-campus activities, but it's really cool with what they're doing because they're setting up an independent program for students to earn their credits. So it's really cool if a student isn't interested in the traditional classroom setting, and it's a way for a student to still enjoy school while learning.
And then Windsor High School has had a couple of recent events, such as Back to School Night, where parents could come sort of tour the campus, view what classes their children were attending. The College and Career Fair, we had a lot of participants and a lot of colleges come, including Stanford, UC Berkeley, Penn State, and then a club carnival during lunch, where just our different clubs could showcase, such as Key Club, which Kylie is in. The Making Connections Leadership Conference was on Monday, where upwards of, I think, 400 leadership students from different schools came, gathered together, were able to meet, have sort of like a spirit cheer-off, and then Senior Sunrise, which was yesterday morning. And then we have some more photos from that. Those are mostly from the conference, and then some from the Club Carnival. And then as for upcoming events, we have Lady Jag Bowl, which is where the girls play football and the boys cheer. The Windsor Day Parade, which is more of a town event, but we do have clubs, sports. I think even a few like classes have banners, they walk. We have Homecoming, which the theme this year is The Last Disco. Picture Retake Day on the 9th. And then every morning before school on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, we will be offering free tutoring. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Just thank you. No? Okay, thank you so much for that. So up next is Superintendent's Report.
It's one of my shorter reports. So let's go. So this is me. So all I do now is research and study. That's pretty much my job. Not really, but obviously that's been a lot of my time has been learning a lot of new law and getting ready for a meeting that happened last night. We did have a fantastic PD day, though, as you guys have been briefed on with Dr. Luis Cruz, and it started off with a great breakfast, and then it really was, I would say, the best professional development day that I've been a part of, and I think I'm stealing Paul's thunder. Sorry, I'll just be quiet so you could speak to it. There it is. So. This is Dr. Cruz. He works for Solution Tree. I'll let Paul speak to this one, but Dr. Cruz is an exceptional presenter, and I think his message hit home for many people. Winter Day Parade's coming up, September 28th. We'll be fully represented. Every site has every site has an entry. We got multiple clubs and teams from the high school. District staff will be there, board members, and our new ambassadors float. So if you're part of the district, parents, students, and staff, and interested in participating, please reach out to your school sites. Trick or Treat Trail is back at Kaiser Park. We'll have a booth this year. Hopefully everybody can come. It takes place October 26th from 12 to 4. Registration is required, and that registration for Windsor residents opens September 24th at 10 o'clock. Non-residents the next day at 10. A word about social media. We're working on our social media presence. And we have Instagram accounts open for all of our school sites. And we didn't have Instagram accounts before, but we do now. So we're going to work to get those things up and running and start making posts more often. So if you can, check us out, like us, and share. Special shout out to Maddie, Windsor Middle, and Brooks, who are especially killing it right now with their social media. It's a short one. That's all I've got today.
Thank you. Any comments? Yep, thank you. All right, up next is staff association reports.
Good evening, Susanna Pfeffer, WDEA President, and I just wanted to invite anybody that would like to attend the candidate night. We're going to do that next Wednesday, a week from yesterday, at Windsor High School at 5 o'clock. If you are interested in attending, please shoot me an email in my district email so that I can give you more information. You got them, right? Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Are there any Board of Trustees reports?
Yes, yeah. I hate the short mic. I drew the short mic again. Yeah, no, it's like, I feel like I'm like bending over. Yeah, so it's been kind of busy since our last regular board meeting. We had a special study session meeting where we went over the district scorecard and we talked about the pillars and we made a lot of changes, brainstormed a lot of ideas. Some of those ideas, for example, was a library reach out, which, by the way, I'm supposed to be meeting with the branch manager, Phil and Brian, next week. So that'll be pretty awesome, just to find out ways the library can help support our students. I think it's a potential that we really haven't tapped into. We also talked, I think this was from our student board members, about using senior projects for TAs and helping out in the Windsor Middle School, the elementary schools, and I think that was a really valuable. Thank you for your input on that. And so that was great. It was a good session. I think we got a lot accomplished. The second thing I wanted to talk about was the PDA day. And coming from a teacher, when I hear PD, it's like, oh man, PD, really? But I said, well, I want to see what this is all about. They're going to be talking about PLCs and something that I know about, professional learning communities. We were doing them when I was teaching up in Cloverdale, so I wanted to find out more about it. So I decided to attend. And first of all, I want to applaud all the teachers who attended on a Friday. It's also sometimes PD on a Friday. But I have to say, for me, it was one of the best PD days I've had in 30 years of being a teacher and in education. Some of the takeaways from that. First of all, Dr. Cruz was very engaging. He used techniques from elementary school, which I really liked, to get attention. He used waterfall, shh. And can you imagine, I don't know how many teachers we have in the district exactly, but doing this. And then he was like, oh, high school, they never want to do that. High school teachers never want to do that. The elementary teachers, they know right away what to do. So they're doing the waterfall, shh, to try to get attention. And so he had me from there. He had me right from the get-go. And at first I thought, I'll just stay until, lunchtime or whatever. But it was so good I ended up staying the whole day. Some of the takeaways that I got from that was one, professional development is only as effective only if we use the information that's provided at the PD day. I mean, we can have this great presentation, be all entertained, and then go back and do what we always do. Well, he talked about that. He talked about systems and about how the system that you have in place is perfectly designed to give you exactly what you're getting. So, for instance, let's use math as an example. If we're doing the same thing year after year after year, there's nothing wrong with the system. The system is working just like it should, but maybe we need to change the system. And so that kind of resonated with me. It's like, okay, it kind of makes sense with some of the things we've been talking about, some of the things that I've brought up. He also talked about in PLCs about identifying essential standards and then concentrating on them. And what I thought was particularly I don't know if it was a coincidence or not, but he chose third grade math facts as an example of a good standard to start with. I don't know if you were there at that point, but it was like, yeah, Dr. Cruz, go. That's what I've been yelling from the board. But the point is, if you take that one standard and you put it through the process for the whole, whether it takes you 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, however long it takes to get all the students proficient in their math facts, it's a tremendous success. And I think sometimes as teachers, we get overwhelmed with, there's so many standards. Oh, how am I going to cover all of it? But he broke it down. He said, no, you don't have to do it all. Just concentrate on doing something and what's really important. So that was a huge takeaway for me on that. I think so. So yeah, so it was a great day. Really enjoyed that. I have some other thoughts. I actually wrote my notes this time. My pad here. One of the things I'd like for the board is, now that we've been talking about PLCs and they're supposed to be working on and working towards these specific goals and whatnot, I would like to see the board get regular updates on how we're doing in our PLCs. I would like to see updates either monthly or maybe in the superintendent or maybe assistant superintendent give a report as to what are they working on, where are they in the PLC process, just so that we can sort of follow the progress along with, or even the principals can do that in their updates or reports. But I would really like that to be a focus, because I think this is, Jeremy keeps telling me, be patient, we've got the things in place. And I really believe if we follow this PLC, and in our PLTs, I learned there's a difference too in that. PLC is the whole district, it's the whole school, it's a professional learning community, but you have PLT is the learning team, professional learning team, your little team's in place. If we really do this, there's no reason why we can't make significant gains, and that was my takeaway. And this is sort of just an aside that I was talking to a fourth grade teacher up in Cloverdale about the need to reduce the adult in the room to student ratios. And I've said that a few times up here as well. And we were talking, and it was like, yeah, that's really true. All the time, it's always about teacher to student ratios. But and I brought it up before too, is that it's not teacher to student ratios, it's adult bodies in the room to student, and during the critical times. And we've talked about ways that we could do that, but I just thought that was another thing that I maybe want report back for how we doing on that. I know we're working on a few things in that area, but I would like to get reports back from the district on those and how we're doing. And I think that's my short report tonight. That's it. Yep.
Thank you.
That's it.
Are there any other reports?
I have a short report also, even shorter. Okay, so second, like everything you said, I didn't go to the PD day, but I'm married to a teacher and he was raving about it. And PD is not something that teachers usually rave about. So Brian, thank you. I know you planned it all. So thank you for an excellent job done. And then I'm also interested in the extra adult bodies in classrooms. And I know I think we have a way that we can pay for it. I know we've talked about also like engaging more volunteers around the community, but that's a lot of work and probably something that would take a long time to put together and just a good thing to do in the future. But being able to just act on it as soon as possible would be great. So I would love an update on that too. I wanted to just recognize something really great going on at the high school. I have a 9th grader who is really loving Windsor High School. And I just wanted to shout out the 9th grade seminar because it's new this year and was kind of curious about what it would be like. But it is such a good program for kids who are maybe like not super organized, which is most 9th graders, and who need a little support and need someone to check in with them and need a little time to do their work when they might have forgotten to do something. And think that it's going great. I also just want to give a shout out to Diane Green, who is my son's freshman seminar teacher. She is amazing. And something that's really great, and I know Danielle Buckman, the principal, was instrumental in that program too, but what I wanted to point out is that the goal of freshman seminar teachers is for their kids to be successful. So they have a vested interest to go out and kind of find out, how can I make these kids successful? And so I've already seen that in action, where there was kind of some curiosity about, like, what is the standard in this particular area? And like, how do I make sure that my kids are successful in that area? And is it the same in all of our classes that are teaching this particular subject? And kind of saw that happen organically, where there was kind of some alignment that just happened naturally, because, you know, it was a teacher going out and talking to other teachers and saying, like, hey, I'm trying to figure out how to help my kids. Like, what should I be doing? So I just wanted to point out, I just thought that was so brilliant, because it was like, this is exactly what's supposed to be happening. I didn't even anticipate that that would be something that would happen. And then the other thing, just, we were talking about social media, and I just really think short form videos are just catching on. Like, they're just, that, I mean, a lot of people are addicted to watching them, which is another issue, but I think that that is an area where we could grow. And I think we could really build an online profile and brand by just having different videos, short, like to the point, but even like an example. And I don't want to commit us to doing a bunch of extra work, because it's like, maybe we don't have the time. But even you think about like new parents starting at our school district, what does the first day of school look like? What does drop off look like? You could have like a 20-30 second video that kind of shows a process and can like really help people visualize, what is this school like? And then people who are maybe not even in our district are kind of going through and researching schools, and then they're like, oh, that's what their school looks like. That's how it is I think that is something where we could maybe get ahead. Potentially, it's also a lot of work too, and I still haven't figured out how to make really engaging short videos. So I don't know, but I think it's something to think about. And that's all I have.
All right, other reports from our board? No? No? So I have something quick. Did you have something, Bill?
Yep.
Do you want to go? No, go ahead.
Okay. Two things. I just don't sadly like to have these events go without us mentioning them. A couple of weeks ago, two high school students and 2 adults were shot in Winder, Georgia, at a high school by a 14-year-old. We grow numb to these things, and they happen and they get in the rearview mirror. I just wanted to share, we spoke of it a little bit in closed session. Our community resource officer, JP Tamayo, and Chief Piccinini, our chief of police, are engaged on safety plans. They get debriefs of a very technical and detailed after-action nature about it. And so to the extent that there may sadly be lessons learned from that community with 4 dead people that we might evaluate for our schools, that's happening. And I just don't like to sadly ever let one of those things go by without mentioning it, because that's people just like us. The other is a happy side of a sad thing. A couple of Saturday nights ago, there was vandalism in 3 classes that I'm aware of at Maddie Washburn. I live right across the street, so I had walked over. Again, thank you to the law enforcement folks who were right on it right away. Did catch the 2 perpetrators, who are unfortunately 2 17-year-old Windsor High School students. More about that, I think, later in parental responsibility for actions like that. That's a different issue. But I wanted to give a shout out to Pablo, who's the head custodian there, and the CSEA fellow custodians who came from other sites, I understand, and worked overtime most all day on Sunday to get those classes ready, and they opened without any interference on Monday. So thank you to them. Again, a very sad thing. Teachers came out of the woodwork to support the 3 whose personal stuff was violated. Student projects that had been built the first couple of weeks were smashed. And come Monday morning, I went back over there, you couldn't really have noticed, other than there was some new decorations in the classroom. So thank you to Pablo and that crew. And again, from the partnership we have with CSEA, it takes everybody to keep our village of a schools going. So again, shout out to him. I know there were a number of people there. I don't know the rest of their names, and I don't want to leave somebody out, although they did come when he put the call out for help. So that's it.
Thank you. And then I just have a quick report. So I'm really excited about this, and I'm glad that Stephanie mentioned the 9th grade seminar because I've been invited to do a lecture at Sonoma State for all of our students in our 9th grade seminar classes. So we're talking 400 students that are going to be visiting Sonoma State over 2 days. So I also want to shout out Danielle Buckman and Diane Green for helping to organize this because they're going to be visiting Sonoma State, getting a tour, and then they're going to be hearing from some of our department chairs at the university. I've spoken to Dean Alamillo, so she's helping to make this possible. And then I'm further excited because I also spoke to my colleague at the Green Music Center, and she has invited all of our freshman year students and their parents to go see a special presentation at the Green Music Center that is called Ghostly Labor. And Ghostly Labor, it's a performance that involves theatrical performance and also dance. So the different styles that are represented are Mexican zapateado, Afro-Caribbean movement, live music in combination with archival video. And it's this beautiful dance. I saw a little video in advance about this, but I'm really excited because I teach in our Chicano and Latino Studies department. So it's cool to be able to share, a lecture with our high school students. And also I will have my own college students there as well. So I think it's going to be a really exciting time. So they get to see the performance and then also the lecture. So I just wanted to mention that our high school students, they get free tickets to this performance. So tickets are normally between $30 and $80. And then their parents get a 50% discount. So I'm excited about that. Okay, so now we're moving on to approval of minutes from August 22nd. Does someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? No? Okay. All right, so that passes. So up next is copy of staff recognitions. And this item will be presented by Pete Sullivan.
Good evening. So it's a new year. It's a new opportunity for us to celebrate the fantastic folks that we have working for our district. And this month, we will be recognizing 2 staff members from Maddie Washburn Elementary. And before I read the recognitions, I'm going to go ahead and say that the site-based recognition will be October 2nd at 1:30, and invitations are forthcoming. Jen, I did send that to you, so you have that, so we can just pop that right out. So for our classified recognition, this comes directly from Patricia, so I will read it as such. I want to extend my heartfelt appreciation to Megan McCracken, our amazing Maddie Washburn librarian. Megan's unwavering dedication to supporting students and staff shines through in everything she does. She always greets you with a smile, radiating joy to all who interact with her. Megan's love for our students is evident in her creation of fun, engaging, and equitable library that offers a wide variety of options for every student. She also single-handedly plans and executes book fairs, events that are inclusive and fun for all families. Megan's incredible organizational skills and collaborative spirit make her a true asset to our team. Whether she's assisting with a new project or stepping in to offer help walk students to class in the busy first days of school, Megan exemplifies what it means to be a team player. Thank you, Megan, for all you do. And for our certificated, I'm thrilled to recognize the incredible efforts of Joanna Huey, whose hard work and dedication truly stand out at Maddie Washburn. Joanna took the lead in organizing our curriculum and inventorying the art shed, tasks that required careful attention to detail and creative problem solving. She took this project on with great enthusiasm, and the results were amazing. All teachers have benefited from Joanna's reorganization and inventorying, and we're incredibly grateful. Whether she's helping colleagues or stepping in to tackle unexpected challenges, Joanna always goes above and beyond with a kind heart and collaborative spirit. Her willingness to support others, paired with thoughtful approach to teamwork, makes her an invaluable part of our community. Joanna, we are so grateful for your contributions and the warmth and positivity you bring to our school. You bet.
Thank you. All right, I will now be turning over this portion of the meeting to Trustee Ahmad.
I'm back. We'll do consent. Okay, so we have a recusal from 4.1. So we'll handle that first and separately. And then 4.2 has been tabled, and so we'll handle 4.3 and 4.7 after we do 4.1. So for 4.1, I will make the motion. Is there any, do I have a second?
I'll second.
And do we have any discussion? No? Okay. We have Rich recused. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Sounds like that's everybody. And then we have one recusal. Now we'll move on to 4.3 to 4.7. Do I have a I'll make the motion on these as well. Do I have a second?
Second it.
Any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And there we go.
Okay, thank you. All right.
I had a comment on 4.5. We just like docketed through that. I just wanted to acknowledge and thank Assistant Superintendent Williams and Mr. Mitchell over at the middle school. I see the Cazadero Jumpstart Music Camp is going. I have a professional musician and elementary school teacher, music teacher son, who really cut his teeth the first time he went up there in 7th grade. If you are available and you want to drive out to the middle of nowhere into the Redwoods on Sunday, the 20th, I would absolutely encourage, I'm going to try and get out there. They do have a concert, which is not just our school. It'll be a variety accommodation concert, which is very valuable for the players. So thank you again for having that going and having a dynamic program.
Okay, thank you. So up next is 5.1, consideration of approval of resolution number 2025-03, appointment of representative and alternate to RESIG Joint Powers Board. This item is presented by Austin, Chief Business Officer.
So this item is an appointment to the RESIG RJPA for insurance to the board. Currently, the appointed member is Jeremy Decker. In the past 3 years, I don't know if you've ever gone to a meeting. No, he has not. He's forwarded them all to me, and then I go as the alternate. And we asked them, can you just send this stuff to me? And they said, well, technically, you need to bring a resolution to your board to appoint you as the representative. Thank you. So that's what the resolution is here tonight, is for you guys to appoint me as the representative. So that way I get the emails and I keep going to them as I usually do. So,
And just for the record, it's common for the CBOs to be the representative.
yeah, on the board, it's all CBOs, but the smaller districts have their superintendents there, but it's all mostly CBOs.
All right.
So I make a motion that we approve this resolution.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
And this is a roll call vote?
Yeah.
Malinali Lopez.
Yes.
Stephanie Ahmad.
Yes.
Paul Cagorno.
Yes.
Rich Carnation.
Yes.
Bill Adams.
Yes.
Kylie Hernandez.
Yes.
Zoe Furman-Kavich.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so up next, we have consideration of approval of resolution number 2025-04, also presented by Austin.
So for those of you that are interested in the GAN limit, I wrote in the history on the GAN. I think my first meeting here, I presented all of it, but this is a housekeeping item that is done every year. Basically, if the state were to hit what's called the GAN limit, which is an appropriations limit, so all the property taxes, all the income taxes, your big three, right, sales and use, if those all go to the state and they go above a certain limit, the state has laws that enact giving that money actually back in a few different forms. If the state hits that limit, it could affect our limit, the amount of money that they give us. However, the state hasn't hit that limit this year, so our funding remains unchanged. We don't have to do anything with ours. So it's kind of a moot point. It's just a housekeeping item at this point. But it is a resolution, so it does need to go through a roll call.
Okay. Thank you. So does somebody want to make a motion?
Make a motion, we approve this resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, roll call vote.
Malinali Lopez.
Yes.
Stephanie Ahmad.
Yes.
Paul Cagorno.
Yes.
Rich Carnation.
Yes.
Bill Adams.
Yes.
Kylie Hernandez.
Yes.
Zoe Furman-Kavich.
Yes.
Thank you. So up next, we have item 5.3, consideration of approval for request to recognize provisional intern permit for Cynthia Hernandez as a multiple subject teacher for Cali Calmeca, presented by Pete Sullivan.
Thank you. And we're going to combine 5.3 and 5.4. We're seeking approval for provisional intern permits for both Cynthia and for Heather Rawson.
Yes.
Cynthia, multiple subject teacher at Cali, and Heather, a new sped teacher at Maddie Washburn.
Yes, thank you.
I'll move that we approve these provisional intern permits.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That passes. So up next is Austin, 5.5, consideration of approval of updated conflict of interest code, resolution 2025-05.
So this is basically a Form 700. So all of board members and then us, we have to fill out a Form 700. We're supposed to adopt this resolution every 2 years and then submit it back to the Fair Political Practices Commission. The change, though, in this one is that now consultants also have to fill it out. So like to give you an example, we do have a consultant like Van Pelt, right? So Van Pelt is our construction management company. They would now have to fill it out. So if for whatever reason in their affiliation with us, if they received anything free, which I think they don't, then they would have to fill out a Form 700 and get it submitted just like the rest of us. So.
Oh, so there's conditions.
Yeah, so the new change is to add consultants or like a management type firm, yes.
Okay.
And it is a resolution, so another roll call.
Okay. Are there any questions before we do the roll call vote? No? Okay.
Motion.
Yeah, is there a motion?
So, so Austin, so this isn't changing anything for us. It's just adding additional folks.
You're right.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, we proceed as normal. Now I just have to update people like Van Pelt and like an architect and things like that to make sure that if for whatever reason, if they were at an event and they received something for free, they do have to report it through us. So
Through us or through their own Form 700?
I mean, I think we would submit the Form 700 on their behalf, but.
Okay, it's not if they get anything.
No.
They have to do it every year, no matter what.
Yep.
It may just be a one-page form if it's like ours, right?
Same as yours.
Yeah, and Jen can help them. This may be hard for them if they haven't had to do it before.
That's a good point.
So yeah, it's not, that they came to the golf tournament and had something less than a $400 gift. They simply have to disclose things.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, somehow I felt that there were some questions there. So does somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we pass this resolution.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. And then this is a roll call vote.
Malinali Lopez.
Yes.
Stephanie Ahmad.
Yes.
Paul Cagorno.
Yes.
Rich Carnation.
Yes.
Bill Adams.
Yes.
Kylie Hernandez.
Yes.
Zoe Furman-Kavich.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So up next is 5.6, consideration of approval of resolution 2025-06 regarding accounting of development fees for 2023 through 2024 fiscal year. And then this is also presented by Austin.
So this is our yearly developer fee resolution. We have to submit a resolution showing what we use developer fees from the prior year. You guys are more used to this coming in November or December. This year, I won't be at the next meeting. And so I said, let's just knock it out now. We already have all the information. Books are closed. Let's just bring it. So this is an accounting of the developer fees. So we collect developer fees from, developers, residential, because they have an impact on our school facilities and the number of students that come to our district. These are one of the most heavily restricted funds that we have. They can only be used for facilities to mitigate the impact of students from residential or commercial properties. So with that being said, the developer fees this last year were used for one thing and one thing only, and that was the Cali TK project. So this is a resolution.
Thank you. Does somebody want to move to approve that?
Yeah,
I mean, a motion.
I'll move to approve it, but I have a comment too. When we were having the town council appeal last night of the Quail Acres, I noticed on one of the things that the developer's representative showed was their 301 units were 2.3 million, our share of the 17 million plus in fees they were paying. The school is getting out of that something in the neighborhood of $2.3 million. So it's something slightly under 10,000, 9,000 a house.
Yeah, developer fees are nowhere near the need.
Right.
We just built 6 classrooms at Cali Calmacac for the new TK yard. That was roughly 10 million.
Wow.
Out of, that 300 home development, we would only generate 2 to 3 million off of that. So you're right, developer fees don't cover the impact at all whatsoever, but it's something.
Good, thank you.
By the way, are there any public comments? No. Okay. So, Bill, I believe you made a motion.
I did.
Is there a second?
I second this motion.
Okay. And I believe this is a roll call vote.
Malinali Lopez.
Yes.
Stephanie Ahmad.
Yes.
Paul Gagorno.
Yes.
Rich Carnation.
Yes.
Bill Adams.
Yes.
Kylie Hernandez.
Yes.
Zoe Furman-Cavich.
Yes.
Okay, great.
I just want to make a little quick comment. I know I was going to not talk tonight, but I just can't help myself in this one. The county is in cahoots with this thing right here because I applied for a permit 5 years ago. It took me 5 years to get the permit. They were waiting for us to raise the fee from 3 to 5, so that way I could pay $517 a foot for that ADU instead of the $340 or the. It's not an ADU, it's a whole building permit and stuff. And so I just want you to know that I wholeheartedly approve this, and I'm glad that I was able to contribute a substantial portion of it.
I'll have to thank them later.
Yes,
Thank
more
you,
to
Rich.
come, more to come.
Thank you for your
so-
donation.
See, I don't just talk. I mean, I actually throw in money too.
All right. So up next is 5.7, consideration of approval of resolution 2025-07, public hearing of sufficiency of materials presented by Brian Williams.
You want to take this one, Pete? No. All right. So we're going to do we need to do a public hearing for the sufficiency of materials, and this is also a resolution.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
This is we have to do a public hearing
Oh,
for the sufficiency of materials.
so I'd like to open this to a public hearing.
And we need to have at least a minute so that we can have a different time.
Yeah. Okay. I see.
If anyone would like to make a comment, you're welcome to now.
I find it ironic that tonight we're sitting up on the dais and we have a minute we have to waste of airtime. And last night I needed that extra minute to get my comments out. Paul was red lighting me. He was helping the mayor.
I think you're good.
We're good?
Yep. Just close it at a minute later.
Do I need to ask for a public comment?
You already did. That was
Oh,
the
okay.
time. You just close it a minute later on the
Okay,
minute.
I see. Okay, so it's 6:59, so we're going to close this hearing now. All right. Do we have to vote on this as well?
You do.
Yeah.
It's a resolution, is a resolution, isn't it?
The resolution.
Yeah.
Does somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve this resolution.
I'll second it.
Thank you. And this is a roll call vote?
It is.
Malinali Lopez.
Yes.
Stephanie Ahmad.
Yes.
Paul Gagorno.
Yes.
Rich Carnation.
Yes.
Bill Adams.
Yes.
Kylie Hernandez.
Yes.
Zoe Furman-Cavich.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So up next is item 5.8, consideration of approval of updated board policies and administrative regulations related to discrimination, presented by Pete Sullivan.
This one's for me. Got it. Yeah, good evening again. So tonight, I'm going to bring 5.8 and 5.9. I'm just going to kind of describe them together. 5.8 and 5.9 are just further requests for policy adoption as related to Title IX so we can be in compliance. You've actually seen 5145.71 before because we actually adopted that last month, but we threw it on again. And then the ARs in 5.8, Those are directly from school and college legal services. Their recommendations on those were different from CSBA's. They recommended that we limited the appeals process during the complaint procedures. So we're bringing those for adoption. And then the rest are actually directly from CSBA in the language that they recommend in order for us to remain compliant for Title IX. That would be 5.9.
Okay, great. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the board on this one?
Can we vote on them together? Would that be appropriate?
Yep. And you had oriented us to these and these changes that were afoot.
Yes.
Previously. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion on 5.8 and 5.9 to approve
I'll
the
second.
updated policies.
Excuse me. I'll second.
Thank you, Bill. And let's see. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Nope. Okay. So that passes. Great. Awesome. So we are now at 5.10, consideration of approval of the 2023-2024 unaudited actual financial statements, and this is presented by Austin.
So all year, we talk about budget, we talk about assumptions, we talk about the different changes coming down from the state and how it affects the budget piece. And then we end up at this point where it's unaudited actuals. So these are the actuals for last year. So from the 23-24 school year, what actually happened. It's usually my shortest presentation because there's no speculating. It is what it is at this point. And so I like to focus on the things that I feel like, we did well in budgeting, but then also like areas that, we could do better. And I remember last year's was interest, and I learned my lesson on that. And so we'll dive into those similar things in this one. So what are unaudited actuals, right? We have our year-end financial statements from June 30th. And then one slide that I threw in, because we talk a lot about assumptions and how important assumptions are when creating a budget. And so I actually threw in a slide on assumptions, and it's comparing our assumptions from what was second interim in February to where we ended the year all said and done come now, right? So as we go to this next slide, these are our assumptions, right? So at second interim, those were our assumptions that we made on the left. Enrollment projections at that time, we already know what CBEDS is, so that's not going to change. The cost of living adjustment for the year is already adopted. That's not going to change. But of course, attendance could increase or decrease slightly, right? So we saw half a tick up. So we did hit that 94 percentile. And I do have to give a shout out for this one to the teachers. Superintendent Decker and I, we went out and did budget road shows at every single one of the school sites, and every single school site had the same question, which was, how can we help, right? And we highlighted two areas. We highlighted attendance, of course, and then we also highlighted the unduplicated percentage. And someone that was instrumental in helping with attendance was actually Jeff Hardy. I knew on the back end Jeff was going and talking to teachers, and he was always asking me for attendance updates. So it is nice to have, that leadership also pushing, because they know what's best, for everyone. So it was nice that we were able to work together on that, and then we're seeing attendance come back. Go ahead, Bill.
I'm sorry. Can you remind us what a 0.5% bump from 93.5 to 94? What's a 0.5% attendance increase in our ADA funding worth?
Very good question, and it's complicated. And I'm going to touch on that on the next slide too. It used to be back in the day very simple. I'm going to answer it now though, because you'll notice it in the next one. But back in the day, it used to be you were funded off current year or prior year for LCFF. Now, because there's a third option in there of 3-year prior average, it's not as simple as just giving a number for each percentage that attendance goes up. It used to be that simple because attendance, you were either in declining enrollment and that percentage would hit one year or the other, and that was it. But now, because there's an average of all that, and for this year, we were funded off the average. So it kind of throws it off to where it's not a useful tool as much anymore, and that's relatively new. It used to be more useful, but in a year like this year we have increasing enrollment, so we'll be funded off a higher attendance, and so we will see that full amount, which is roughly about 300,000 if it goes up 1%. So if we go that up 1% this next year, we would gain roughly another 300,000 in unrestricted LCFF. Good question. Unduplicated, you could tell that there was a slight change. I've had to learn a lot about unduplicated. This last year was one of my kind of goals for myself, was to kind of dive into how we're identifying students. I know that it was a board goal to try to get us to that 55%. So we created what we call 90-day plans, and we've been revisiting that. This year we revisited it and re-upped it and changed some stuff with how times are changing. One thing that I learned, though, was that we actually certify several times a year. So we can constantly keep grabbing data, which I was not aware of. I thought the first certification was it. That's done. But no, we can keep grabbing and keep certifying all the way up through end of January. So, and then STRS and PERS rates, those aren't going to change from second interim. So as you dive into the actual numbers from year end, this is the unrestricted side of the budget. I've been kind of pushing for everyone to focus on unrestricted because right now with all of these restricted programs that came with that state's big influx of 1 year of one-time dollars through educator effectiveness, through learning recovery, all these large dollar amounts, now we have Prop 28. The restricted side is starting to get convoluted, and you can't really look at it combined. You have to be able to separate out the unrestricted side, which is our structural, this is our attendance, this is how much we have to pay for the programs that aren't on the restricted side, that aren't, I don't want to say fiscally solvent, but not paying for themselves.
Self-funded. Yeah.
Yes, they're just not funded fully. So in this district, it's two programs. It's maintenance and special education. Maintenance is a state required law, 3%, but special ed, it can go up and go down. So if you look at on the left, you have second interim, and then you have unaudited actuals, and then you have the difference. So I'm going to point out a few things. If you look at revenues, this was an area that I'm not mad about that. It was off by that much, but it was an area I thought could have been better. If you actually look at the budget documents, LCFF is within $20,000. We're talking 2 kids at that point. But again, it was a little bit easier to calculate because of the 3-year prior average, because that 0.5% would have made a huge difference. And I would have been off by, 150,000. But instead we were off 20,000 in LCFF. The main difference came in local revenue, things like facility use revenue. We pay for things out of ASB, and then ASB will reimburse us back. Those are all local revenues that come back to us. BITSA, field trips, all this kind of stuff that, we're paying for stuff, and then we're getting money into like just the local revenue. So that's mainly why that was off. Interest did go up 1% from February to now, which is good. We want to receive a higher interest rate. Rich and I actually had a meeting with the county treasury, and this was last year, and they indicated that around this year they would be seeing a rate increase. They were a little bit behind what other local players were doing in the banking area, because we had saw several CDs. You can see it on the freeway, 5%. Our banks were a little bit further behind. But they had indicated that it was going to go up this next year. So that's the main difference. Expenditures, you could have a position budgeted, someone leaves, there's a vacancy. So $200,000, I'm not worried about. That's pretty close. But you can see what it is. One thing that stood out that is new for me, and it was new this year, was the fair market value. So in my 7 years, I've never had to even talk about it. But basically there's this law that when inflation is really high, the value of your beginning fund balance, you have to properly account for it. I will be honest, I hate it. It doesn't make sense to me. What does make sense, I just don't like it. But basically they say, you know, your beginning fund balance actually isn't worth as much as it is because of inflation, and you have to account for it. That to me makes sense. The problem is, so you can see it going down from second interim DUAs. The problem is though, as inflation returns back to normal, I'm then going to re-up that beginning balance back to what it is. So it just doesn't, to me, it's whatever, but it's an accounting piece and our auditors look at it. So I do it. Any questions on this slide? And of course you look at our fund balance, right? So we have reserve for economic uncertainty, and then we do have that assigned, restricted, committed. Those are funds that have been committed for a very specific purpose, or they're restricted. So they're in a restricted program and can only be used for one thing or another. Oh, wrong one. So this is our combined. This is once you combine the unrestricted, which is our, you know, we get attendance, that money flows in, we pay for our salary, you know, we pay for what we need to pay for, which is structural. And then this is also including all of our grants, right? So $67 million budget. There was one huge difference outlying. There was a $2 million expenditure that was different. We had talked about that arts, music, and instructional materials block grant. The trust that we had talked about is not open yet. There was things that they had to do on the company's end, on PAR's end. So that will roll into this year. So that, you know, in my brain, I go $2 million off. That's why we're off, because we had thought we were going to spend that last year. It's going to be spent this year instead. So pretty straightforward. And that's all I had for you guys. Are there any questions, comments from the board?
Do you do a similar analysis for Cali? So Cali's numbers aren't in that 60?
It's not, okay. Yeah. So I usually do
roughly what's their numbers from expenditures and revenue?
So they're balanced this year. This last year, they had a slight increase. It was mostly in restricted. Cali's budget's interesting because it doesn't break out unrestricted and restricted like ours on the forms. However, I can, of course, in my program, go and look manually. But so they're actually balanced on the structural piece, and then on the restricted side, they received more grants than what they had spent.
But what's the magnitude? Is it what, 13?
Oh, it's roughly about 14.
14 million?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're a scooch.
Yeah.
80 for expenditures and just under that for revenue.
You got it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Once you combine Cali, the district, and food services, I mean, you're looking very close to 100 million operating.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
All right. Thank you, Austin. All right. Up next is Jeremy, consideration of approval of district scorecard board goals.
Yeah, we need to approve this, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was there a public comment on Austin's presentation? No.
Sure. I think we need to approve it, right?
Oh. Austin, do we need to approve your item?
Yes.
Okay. So is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You've been spending a lot of time hanging on to that wood up there, Superintendent.
Okay, let's talk about the district scorecard. So we had a study session where we had a lot of conversation, roughly 3 hours.
Jeremy, the mic.
Oh, sorry. I'll repeat it for all those watching at home. We had a study session where we spent a considerable amount of time discussing the district scorecard, what should be included in it, what our strategies are. And with all of the discussion, I tried to coalesce it into a scorecard that we would use for the year. The main change, there are 2 main changes in this, or 3, I should say. If you look at our first pillar, All Students Connected and Thriving, we talked about our current scorecard has a youth truth question about belonging. Do you feel like an important part of your school? There was conversation around this item. Should we simply add to what we already have, or should we replace it? Based on the conversation that we had, I made the decision to replace it. You guys ultimately vote to determine if you want it to be replaced or if you want it to be added. So what I replaced it with was something about school safety. To your point earlier, Bill, it just seems top of mind. And for our students, I think it's important. And that's why we put it in there with the youth truth. Should I go through each pillar and have comments, or should I go all the way through? What would you guys prefer?
Yeah, let's maybe go all the way through and
okay. Sure. I should say the other difference in the scorecards is I used to do goals that we could reach each year or hope to reach each year. I've modified that to a stretch goal where I hope we are after a certain number of years. And then what I'd like to do with you guys is monitor our progress towards that stretch goal instead of doing a 3% increase and saying, hey, we made it. So if you look, those stretch goals are high. I mean, if you look at ELA, I want us at 70% meeting standard or being above standard. Same thing with math. If you look at our college and career readiness, we're currently at 45.3%. I want us at 75%. With our makeup, we should be able to have 3 out of every 4 students be college and career ready. Those are the main changes within this document from last year to this year. If you scroll down. For the staff connected and thriving, that hasn't changed. Unfortunately, when we put out the survey in 23-24, it was the first time we had administered the survey ourselves. We had a consultant doing that before. We put it out wrong. So we didn't have the correct data for 23-24. We fixed that, so we know what we're doing now, and we'll make sure that it's all correct moving forward. These two, really for staff, we want to make sure that staff feels that others in the organization connect with them in an honest two-way communication. And then also with Youth Truth, we say that my school creates a positive work environment. So we've been tracking that for a number of years. For strong family, community, and school relationships, I added a new goal this year that we didn't have before. We have always had a number of interdistrict transfers, and we have always had communication and feedback. I receive regular feedback about my child's progress. We added my child's learning environment is safe because, once again, what we've already been talking about, families want to be in a place where they feel their kids are safe. So I will point out for the interdistrict transfers, we have never been positive with our interdistrict transfer ratio. And this is the first year where we're trending positive right now by over 100 students, mostly at the secondary level. Finally, sound financial planning and decision-making. These two goals, these two measures have stayed the same. I work in an organization where employees regularly share and exchange ideas. The idea behind our budget roadshows is so that those employees can share ideas with us. Austin and I go out, we try to explain this budget, and we get feedback and ideas. And then also, you heard Austin, he was being hard on himself because I rate how close he was to his projections with ADA as well as enrollment. And he's excellent at this part of his job. We pride ourselves on giving accurate information to you as well as our unions and not trying to overinflate or underinflate numbers. And once again, he was excellent at this as he was within 1% for ADA, and his projections for enrollment were also close to being spot on. Questions or comments?
I do have a comment, but okay, can we go back to the top? On the first page. So under curriculum mapping in progress. So I understand that the teachers have been doing a lot of curriculum mapping. And one of my areas of concern, and this is also a comment for Brian, is in this curriculum, I don't know why I'm having trouble saying that word, curriculum mapping, is there consideration for having more diverse representation in some of the textbooks we use? So let's say, for example, the English curriculum. You know, I know that in our schools, we have 50% Latino students. Is there consideration from the teachers as far as using more Latino authors, for example, in the English curriculum? And then also, I would say in history, can there be more representation?
So we are now going through a process of new adoptions, and every time we do a new adoption, California improves in terms of its representation. And then, as you may remember, we've brought several new novels to the board for approval, and that's to increase our representation for different cultures. And then for history, that's one we just did an adoption. English, the high school does a novel-based units, so they're constantly changing and updating. And then the middle school did an adoption probably about 4 or 5 years ago, so it's fairly recent.
Okay, yeah, and I just think it's so important with the school district that overwhelmingly has Latino students. I think it's only fair to them that they should see themselves represented in the textbooks that they read. It's really, really important because I think in my daughter's, 3 years of high school, I don't think she's ever had a Chicana author or Latino author in her curriculum. So I'm just a little bit surprised.
One of the things that we have changed the last year and especially this year is that when we're doing our curriculum mapping with the middle school, Callie is going to be partnering with our middle school teachers. And so that will bring an entirely new perspective as well as a whole new set of curriculum that they can discuss.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Oh, Bill.
Yeah.
That's right.
Looking at, I didn't notice it when we had our workshop, when we looked at this one, but the first one that we changed to safe, I don't remember what level of grades on the very top one, and the one we changed safe and we took out the being connected. What grades participate at the elementary level in the youth troop?
I think it starts in 3rd grade.
Okay.
It starts in 3rd grade,
Yeah.
right?
The concern I have, is that about right?
I believe it's 3rd.
Yeah, I didn't realize before, but we have that whole huge segment of our students below 5th grade and below that are not providing their feedback on that survey. I know there's some other questions that we have that are below the radar. And again, I think perhaps a reason to maybe have another one that includes some feedback from our elementary students.
Okay.
I know it's behind the curtain because we have, a half dozen that we went through in the details of this, but just an observation, I hadn't noticed that before. The other point I'll just make, I'm not sure we're measuring, having brought up the shooting at the high school, when 8% are saying not feeling safe as being that's not, but 92% of the people are not reporting that they feel unsafe. Are we measuring an issue that perhaps is not a problem? So
I think that's a super relevant question and one I considered. And really, when I looked at this, what impacted me the most was the difference between middle and high school.
Right.
I think our high school looks like doing well in terms of safety, but the middle school to have 24% compared to our high school at 8%, it stuck out to me. And I thought that'd be something we could dig into.
Well, and remember, they had a bomb threat evacuation last year, at which we, knock wood, we haven't. Not that I'm suggesting that as a program of adventure, but okay. Thank you. I just wanted to point that out, that maybe, and when we have maybe the next interim, follow up about this, perhaps you could also bring, for what we've seen in the workshop, that backstory that has the other measures that matter, right? That there's more than just, for example, 4 under that first pillar.
Yes.
I think there's like 15.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
What we listed these on here. Okay, thank you.
All right, any other comments?
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
And then just a comment in connection to the youth troop surveys, Kylie and I were planning on sort of doing more face-to-face survey with the schools just to get more detailed and personal answers from the students, especially the elementary schoolers, because I know we don't get as much data from them.
Yeah, the information is different when it's coming from a face, especially a student that they connect with, rather than just looking at a screen and answering questions. I feel like the results would be a lot more raw and honest.
Get your empathy.
And if you look at the leading measures, that's actually called out. So empathy interviews with students, those aren't done by me. Those are done by our great student board members because, yeah, kids are going to be more honest with you than they are an adult. So.
All right, anything else?
Yes. Yeah, I do have a comment. So at the end of our workshop, we talked about kind of those events where something comes up and it's super critical and we have to spend a lot of time on it. And we talked about putting that in finance, in the finance section, but I don't see it there.
That is right. And I did not put that in there. I can, but I didn't do it.
So I think that's super important. So what I'm talking about is kind of strategic financial planning, but also it's even bigger than that because it's like if we find out that the only school site left in town is about to be approved as a development project without a school site, and we have to figure out like all the law of like why that's on our why we have a case that shouldn't happen, and like spend 2 weeks preparing, and you have to come and make a presentation, and we have to be here until midnight, and then have a board meeting the next day. I think we should have a goal in here which it kind of encompasses those situations when something just comes up and we have to deal with it because it's really important and it's going to impact the future experience of our students and of our finances. So I think
that's why it's not in there, because I forgot about it.
I think we should table this and come back to make a decision, because I think that's really important, because it just will accurately capture what we actually do.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah,
thanks.
I agree with that. Okay, so we will table that one.
Okay, sounds good. Any other comments, questions? Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And thank you for your understanding on that, because I should have got that done and I didn't.
You had other things going on, which is what it'll be reflected there, that sometimes you have other things going on. So no need to apologize.
All right, so we are at item 6.1, future board meeting items. Do we have any future board meeting items?
We had talked about maybe a workshop on gangs or whatever. I don't know if that's in the works. You just gave me the thing from Jen Cox there.
I said we will allow an invitation today to a safety meeting.
Right.
That's organised that the Windsor PD are coming to give us an update on any, on gang activity and what they're seeing.
Oh.
That's great.
Okay.
Thank you.
And that's for staff, but I figured we'd invite you as well. If you want to do a separate one, we can, but it just seemed to make sense to have you participate.
No.
Okay, anything else? Really? Well, crickets. Okay, and then I am happy to announce that I'm bringing this meeting to adjournment. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Should we hang out? We were here till 10 till 12 yesterday.
Thank you.
Yay.